Greetings and welcome to another episode of Real and Raw, the podcast show where we tackle the important stuff. We're your companion on this journey, the trusty voice in your ear, always ready to spark a thought-provoking conversation. Here on Real and Raw, the only rules are honesty and authenticity. We don't follow scripts, we don't dodge the tough questions, and we certainly don't shy away from the truth. We're all about digging into the heart of the matter, peeling back the layers until we get to the core. In each episode, we invite you to join us as we explore an array of topics. From the weighty and profound to the lighthearted and whimsical, nothing is off limits. We're here to challenge the status quo, to question the accepted, and to start some fires in minds that are ready to be ignited. We believe in the power of conversation, the real, raw and unfiltered kind, the kind that makes you think, that nudges you out of your comfort zone, and perhaps even changes your perspective. We're all about creating a space where we can learn, grow, and evolve together, one episode at a time. Before we wrap up, we've got one small request if you enjoy our show. If it resonates with you or sparks a thought, please hit that like button and share it with 3 to 5 people who might appreciate it too. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Remember, every like, every share, every subscription helps us continue this journey, keeps the conversation going, and brings us one step closer to a world where we're not afraid to get real and raw. Join us and find more courses and conversations at choicecommunity.org. Now, here is your host, Gil Hodges.
All right, welcome everybody. I've just kind of got a spontaneous show with a good friend of mine, Nelson Castille, and we're going to bring him on in just a minute. But just wanted to invite all of you to share this with a few friends. We're just going to have a good conversation here. Looking forward to just catching up with my friend Nelson Castille. So there we are. How you doing, Nelson?
I'm doing great. How have you been?
Good. Yeah. I got to meet you and your wife. When is it? Probably
Was that October?
October.
Maybe?
Okay. Yeah. And just, I so love you guys and just honor you and bless you and thank you for what you're doing, your piece and just building out the kingdom. And anyway, just thought it would be good to catch up and see what you're doing these days.
Yeah. Gil, last time I saw you, you didn't have a mustache. So that's new.
That's new. Yeah, that is new. Yeah. So what's Father doing? Because again, this is the Real and Raw show, so it's where we kind of just talk about things and don't necessarily pull any punches. So we got a few people watching right now, and again, those who are watching, share it, get the word out. We're going to be here for a little bit anyway. We'll see what Father has for us. But what's happening?
So as usual, I've been engaged in the heavens and things like that. And more recently, I've been prompted to do my first public mentorship course where I plan to take people through and show them how to do a lot of things. I did put a lot of that in my book when that came out. But this is going to be my first step-by-step course for overall our spiritual journey.
Okay. And so what's that entail? And what do you think it's going to do for why would people want to sign up?
Awesome. So some of the things that I do plan on talking about is like the who the historical figure Yeshua was. There's a lot of theories, there's a lot of myths. Everything I'm sharing comes from my years of experience in the spirit, face-to-face relationship. I plan on teaching people how to have a face-to-face relationship with God. And that somewhat works me out of a job.
Yeah.
So,
well, I've that's been kind of my wife and our thing is I don't want to be your go-to person. I want to teach you how to fish for yourself.
yeah.
And that's going to make a better world. Now it might not sit well with some leaders that their whole livelihood and everything is based off of lots of followers and so forth. But the bottom line is I really want to teach people how to do things on their own.
Yeah.
So engaging in the heavens, that's one thing. And why do you think that's important?
We don't actually begin until we start going to heaven.
Yeah.
Our kingdom journey, our spiritual walk, our relationship with God doesn't fully start until we get to heaven, until we start functioning from there. And that's really the flip. One of the things I do plan on going over is the difference between how sonship is structured versus religion. Religion, for the most part, is teaching you what to do in order to get to heaven. And then heaven is the end goal. Well, we're talking kingdom and sonship. You start with the kingdom and you start with the fact that you're a son. You start with heaven, which means it's no longer the end goal. There's other responsibilities now.
Come on. That's really good. That's really good. Now, you have a podcast called The Cave of Mystery, but so what with this course that you're planning to do, is it what's the name of it, and kind of what inspired it?
Yeah, so it's School of the Empire is the name of my the school that I'm launching, and this course is 13 weeks. So what ended up, as far as where I got the name from, it's my understanding of how the government of God is structured. That the word kingdom is not incorrect, but I found that the word empire fits better. And that's because if we're looking at the way things are set up, a kingdom is ruled by, well, a king. An empire is ruled by an emperor. What's the difference? They're both forms of royalty. Well, a king is really only focused on his own territory, managing his own lot very well. An emperor is based on expansion, expanding his borders, or as some would say, expanding the tent pegs. But emperor is a term that throws people off. Another term that means the same as emperor is king of kings.
Okay. Yeah.
That our government isn't just a kingdom, but it's an empire.
Yeah.
And one of the special things about an empire is that within an empire are many kingdoms.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. Well, that's interesting. It's cool. So I totally agree with you that, my life changed when I began to engage the heavens, and just realize that not only do we belong there now. It's like so many teachings. Well, most churches teach that you want to get to heaven. Well, then you need to make sure you got your ticket, which is saying the magic words, so that Jesus is now your Lord and King, and then you go act like whatever you want to act like, and it tends to be the way it goes. But and then if you do that all well and you've measured up, then when you die, you get to go to heaven. And unfortunately, that's what's taught, and yet it is so far from the beauty and the elegance of the true gospel that we actually belong. We actually already belong there, and Father's just inviting you to come. And so I'm curious, what would you share with people that have no concept of this, in giving them an idea that it's okay to step in?
Not just that, but one of the things that you mentioned briefly just then was the whole you get to heaven after you die. One of the things that I like about the way that I teach and the way that I present it is that it's based on experience, which means that if I just tell you my stories, it's up to you whether to believe me or not. I could just be a good storyteller. But if I teach you how to engage heaven yourself, well, that has nothing to do with me anymore. It's not about my ability to convince you anymore. It's, wow, I was there. I saw what I saw. I experienced. It happened to me, which was the way I used to evangelize back when I was in that stage, was through experience. We could argue apologetics for hours and get nowhere. But if I put you in an experience that includes you, I didn't pay you to lie to yourself. Maybe if I pray for a few people in a room, but I don't talk to you, maybe I set that up.
Yeah.
But if you're the person it's happening to, well, that removes this is all fake because it happened to me and I don't believe. Okay, well, there must be some credibility here. So I've always loved the experiential approach to things, because it breaks down the walls. It's easier for me to deal with people's real questions, real problems, and help cater to them in their specific area.
Yeah. So cool. Yeah, and this is so needed. And I do believe, people like yourself and others that are leading out in this arena. Each one of us, you've got a way of doing it. I've got a way of doing it. There's others that have their way of doing it. And the thing is, as long as we can get them in front of Jesus or the Father or Holy Spirit in the heavens, and it's not like they can't come here. They're here all the time. We're never without them. That's another whole, erroneous teaching that we can be separated from them. But that when we intentionally engage with them, they're as happy as can be. I mean, they're just waiting for us to engage with them, and all the wisdom of the universe is right there.
Yeah.
And so if you need answers, that's the place to go. Not necessarily to your pastor. And I'm not saying there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but when you rely on your pastor to give you all the answers, it's like, why would you do that? It's like, here's your pastor, here's God, and you want an answer. Who are you going to go to? It's like, you've got a choice. You really do. So I think all of us in our right mind, we're going to say, well, I think I'd rather hear it from God.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then what you're going to share with people is going to help them engage in that process so that they can do that. I mean, I'm learning to live from the heavens all the time. And I think that's the goal of all of us, is that we understand that we're already there. And so just living from that place and having that perspective when we work and do what we do here in this realm.
Yeah, because a lot of us grew up in structures that put all the things we wanted far away from us, unattainable. We're kind of walking on a treadmill. And that's one of the benefits of having experiential revelation of these things, is that it tears away at a lot of the deceptions that get in the way of what we're already given. Such as, if you believe you have to die to go to heaven, but then you go to heaven and you're alive, well, that means that death isn't necessary anymore. That was the only thing giving some level of credibility to death, and it's gone. That means that I'm allowed to live and embrace heaven now, and death is no longer my savior. It gets to be the word that's within all men that's now my savior. This God that's inside of the temple that I am. That's what I have now. A realization that I've always had what I needed.
I love that. So I'm curious, what kind of pushback do you get from people generally? Is there anything specific that a lot of people will kind of come at you with and try to tear down what you're sharing?
So the only two things that I get backlash on is hilarious. The major one is immortality. The fact that I want people to live. The other one is right next to it, is that I teach people that they never have to be sick a day in their life. Those two go hand in hand. Those are my two most persecuted messages, which is why I teach them so much.
And I'd be right there with you. Now, so let me just throw out the obvious question. It's like, have you been sick or injured or anything like that? And how do you deal with that when you're teaching it and this comes up?
So I haven't been sick since I decided I wasn't doing that anymore, which has been almost a decade.
Okay.
I decided that my last sick day was my last sick day, and I haven't had anything since. And that was, like I said, almost a decade ago.
Okay. Now, so what about the people that you're teaching that are they're riddled with sickness or disease, and they're having a hard time fathoming. They're having a hard time seeing how they could ever get to that place when they're battling so much right now.
Yeah, I let it be easy. I'm a simple mystic, as in I teach a lot of what people would consider high level or complex things, but I teach it very simply so it's not too jarring. And that's really what makes it hard, is that most of us are looking for 90 steps, and I give people 4.
And I love that. I mean, I'm all about the bottom line simplicity. Yeah. And so go ahead.
Yeah. So for people that find themselves in that, for one, I've been ministering and healing for about the same time, almost a decade now. And I've seen The only healing I specifically haven't done, but don't doubt my ability to do, is a wheelchair. I've done everything else, all the way to dead raising. I've done everything else. I just haven't actually had an experience to minister to someone in a wheelchair.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there are opportunities out there.
Like one of my last, well, this was a year ago. Well, we did a meeting with someone who had multiple sclerosis. They couldn't really stand up for longer than a good 15 seconds. They walked sideways. I ministered to them in the moment. This all happens at houses. I work within houses and families and homes and things. The lady untwisted, started to get her vision back. It's all good. She's back. She's back functioning regularly. She's no longer walking sideways. She walks like a regular person.
Wow,
I've been back when I was in high school. I was seeing cancers disappear and things like that. I started while I was in high school.
Wow.
So there came a point where instead of people looking for the nurse, they would look for me, because the nurse would just give you ice, but they knew they had a better shot of getting cured or healed if they came to me. So that is something I've been doing for people who have ailments. Thing is, I never want to put people in the trap of always coming to me whenever they have anything. So I'll do it maybe the first time, maybe the second time, but people who've known me for years know the more you come to me, the less available I become. And that's because I don't want you to rely on me.
Right.
By then, I've taught you how to never experience it again, and I want you to put that into practice.
It's so good.
I don't like healing the same people over and over again, because the inspiration should be not that I can get healed should anything happen to me. What I'm trying to impart is that nothing ever has to happen to me. I don't have to get sick. I don't have to be injured. I don't have to have an infirmity. I can live whole for the rest of forever.
Yeah. And I'm a believer in that. But I also recognize that every single one of us, we have our own strongholds that we believe in that we're not even aware of. And so a big part of the process is having those identified or becoming aware of them, and doing, I do courts of heaven in order to get rid of those strongholds, because those strongholds are usually areas where I've empowered the enemy because I've chosen it. I've agreed with it, whether I knew it or not. That's what's going on. And so for me, I feel like it's just a process of eliminating the strongholds in order to get to the place where we can experience the truth.
Yeah. And I call those filters, which is really the same thing. It's the best way I've ever presented filters is the idea that God speaks from within us very clearly, yet our soul kind of acts as a lens, so that before it reaches outside of us, it goes through us. And depending on our clarity, that message is either cleanly presented or it's slightly distorted. For example, we take someone who, let's just say this is a minister of some sort, and they don't believe in women preachers. Yet God tells them, hey, you see that woman there? She's called to preach. Well, they'll never say, God just said you're called to preach. What they'll say is, God's going to use you to help people. God is going to do a mighty work through you. See, the encouragement will still come, but it won't be word for word, because their soul says women can't preach.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean God didn't say it. I'll tell you an example of me messing up way when I just started, 2017. I was asking God about the zodiac. I was like, okay, explain to me what's going on with the signs. What was God's answer? God's answer was, the signs have principalities that are associated with them that help govern those areas of time. That's what God said. What did I go around telling people? Oh, God said that those are demons attached to those times. Principalities and demons aren't the same. But on a soul level, I thought they were, and I messed up the message. In reality, there's nothing demonic about the signs and the stars, the zodiac, the Mazzaroth. There's nothing wrong with that. That's one of the things I plan to cover, is how to govern from above them, how to use them, how to function with them from a kingdom perspective.
That's good. That's good. So this course you're going to do, it's 13 weeks long?
Yes. Yeah. Meeting once a week. It'll be Sunday afternoons.
Okay.
Or Sunday evening.
Was it like an hour or a couple hours?
It depends.
Okay,
Some
so
weeks will be shorter than others, but at least an hour.
open-ended a little bit. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I
Wow.
plan on doing Q&A at the end to cover all the questions in each section so that the next weeks can go by smoother. Because if I save Q&A for the last day, I answer 6 questions.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's good. That's good. I was just reading a comment here. It's a little long. I'll throw it up here. Here you go. I see Paul's use of perfect not as implying human moral perfection, but as having a perfect, complete, and mature understanding of his teachings of the finished work of Jesus and how Christ's life and moral perfection is, by faith, experientially our present position. In the same vein, Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount implies perfection as accomplished in a promissory sense, not in an imperative. That's good. Thanks, Mick. Appreciate you sharing some thoughts. Yeah, do you have anything you would respond to that on or
I
add
believe
to?
both are optional, both are
Mhm.
available. That even when it comes down to understanding what sin is and what iniquity is, we realize that we've demonized ourselves far beyond even what the Bible has, to the point where we've took Paul's verse that says all have sinned and fallen short of the glory to mean that all are inherently wicked and must mess up forever and ever, and there's no salvation for you. That
Yeah,
we have a Bible that says that by one man all men fell, but by one man all have risen. That guy's death, burial, and resurrection didn't count. So we're still under Adam, is what it
yeah,
turns into. But
yeah. They're
what I believe is that the same level of holiness that the Father has is something we're able to obtain. And since I don't believe in death, I believe we can have it now.
yeah. And I'd be right there with you. There's some things I think for me anyway, it's important, when I'm sharing the idea of immortality, it's like I personally, sure, I've heard stories. I don't know if you'd even call it secondhand or third hand or whatever. I've heard stories, but I do not personally know anybody who's ever lived past, like 100 years or whatever. It's not documented in such a way that there's people that would look at. Now the Bible's full of that, and I'm not disagreeing with it, but I'm just saying I personally don't know anybody. So it's like what I would encourage everybody to do is I think the scriptures are pretty clear that we can have that immortality in these bodies. So let's move toward that. So whether you believe you're going to make it or not, and we should believe that we're going to make it, but also not to be disappointed or condemning or judging when someone doesn't make it. Because the whole idea is let's move the ball closer to the goal line. The goal line is immortality in these bodies where we are made perfect, even as our Father in heaven is perfect. And I believe that actually is talking about love. But I do also believe that when we're perfected in love, that no sickness or disease can exist in that presence. So all the same, but let's move the ball closer to the goal line and let's keep doing that. And let's keep living life, enjoying life. Let's enjoy life. We don't have to be miserable, but at the same time, we're here to learn to love. So let's
Yeah.
make the journey and love one another and live in peace and harmony the best that we can and
Yeah.
move that ball.
So I was having a conversation with one of the 7 spirits a few weeks ago. It was the Spirit of the Lord, and he was talking to me about love, which that was my first time understanding that the Spirit of the Lord is the Spirit of love. And one of the things that that Spirit does is teaches you to function in the demeanor of royalty, teaches you to function in the spirit of the emperor or the spirit of the king.
Yeah.
So that the way that you think and the way that you function is the same way that God functions. And that spirit being love.
Right.
Well, love is what would you say the opposite of love is? And then I'll
Well,
tell you what the spirit of the Lord told me in that moment.
okay. Well, I know that most of the time the world's going to say it's hate, but it's not. It's fear.
Perfect answer, because that's what the Spirit of the Lord told me, that the opposite of love was fear.
Yeah.
Which means that if you're abiding in a place of love, you're abiding in a place of invulnerability, in infinite love, in abundance, actually. You're overfilled with the things that you need in a place of love. The opposite of that being fear. Fear implies that you believe you're in a deficit and that you're running out. Whether it be time, whether it be resources, whether it be information, it believes that you're limited in some capacity.
Yeah.
So one of the ways that you can really tell, just being honest with yourself. When this is something that people don't like to do, but you have to be honest with yourself on what you're actually afraid of and what you're not afraid of. And that determines how to go about things. We know the verbiage, we know it should be is that we shouldn't be afraid of everything or anything. But truthfully, what are you afraid of? When it comes to sickness and disease, if you're afraid of death, guess what? You're going to die because you're no longer protected from it.
Yeah.
You can profess by his stripes I'm healed all day till you turn colors. But if you don't actually believe that, you'll pass away like an unbeliever.
Yeah. Yeah. And, to me, the fear is also attached to and connected with the fact that we're not probably number one, we don't fully understand who God is, but number two, for sure, we're not trusting him. Because if we fully trusted him and we fully understood who he is, there is nothing to fear because we've got an abundant Father who loves you and has your best in mind. So why would you fear life, anything? Because greater is he who is in you than he who's in the world. If all those things are true, well, we should be all right. Honestly, we should have nothing to worry about.
Yeah. So it's really about, like you were saying, abiding where you live. Either you live in love where you're perfectly secure, you live in fear where you have to keep watch.
Yeah.
You have one of these watchman ministries.
Right. Right. No, that's good. That's good.
This new danger is coming in. I must warn the sheep. I'm like, why are we still having sheep in this day and age? Sheep expired 2 ages ago in the age of Aries. And here we are in Aquarius. We didn't pass the fish up and we're still talking about sheep. This is an age associated with lions. Sheep expired 13 years ago.
That's good. Well, yeah, this is good. I really hope get to hear some testimonies from your class and what people are doing and experiencing, and I know it'll be good. So the link is in the notes. So if anybody's curious and wants to check it out, the link is there. And if that doesn't work, Nelson, just make sure to post a note somewhere in the comments and so forth to make sure people get where they want to go if they want to check that out. That'd be good.
Schooloftheempire.com.
Pretty easy. Okay. All right. Well, anything else, Nelson, before we wrap up?
Yeah, that was the major part. For any of you who do end up signing up, enrollment closes March 1st.
Okay.
So you have about a week to decide or see if you want to sign up or not. This will come back. Well, it won't be soon, but but right now there's about a week before enrollment closes. Right now, it will not send you a confirmation email. There is a confirmation page. So pay attention to that. There's a link there and information there for how to proceed. So pay attention to the confirmation page.
All right. Well, very cool. And again, it's been nice catching up with you. I made a trip and went through Belmont, just 2 weeks ago, and I was thinking about you guys, but I was hightailing it, trying to get to my destination for that night, which was a 10-hour drive. But certainly appreciate you guys, you and your wife, and both of you have a great ministry, and encourage people to get in touch with you and find out what you guys are doing. Good stuff.
And that's Cave of Mystery. You find us find me on YouTube. There's a public Facebook group. We do have a Patreon. And a Discord server that's in the links is in the description of all my stuff. So if you're looking for a community, if you're weird and want to be around more weirdos, I have a Discord server for all the rest of the weirdos in the world to talk to each other.
It's a good place. It's a good place. Well, Nelson, thank you again, and truly appreciate you. And hey, all of you who are listening, take a look at what he's got and see if Father's leading you down that direction. I think it'd be some good stuff. And I do appreciate what you're teaching overall, just because, the world needs to hear that there's freedom out there. And a lot of the stuff we've been taught isn't necessarily leading us into the fullness of Christ. And so,
yeah.
Good.
Again,
All
thank
right.
you, Gil.
Yeah. Well, blessings to you and your wife, and blessings to everybody listening. Love you all, and we will see you all next time.